Hey y'all, this is Married at First Sight, season 19, episode 9, titled Two Truths and a Lie. So basically, at the start of the episode, we get all the couples receiving an intimacy box from the experts. Well, I don't know, like, we didn't necessarily see all of them. I know we saw uh, Megan and Derek's, Belinda and Chad's, and Will and Brittany's, I believe. The only two I didn't see were Jalen and Josh's and Pat and Rhonda's. I know Pat and Rhonda definitely didn't, but I think I may have missed Jalen and Josh's, but I'm assuming that everyone got one, essentially. But yeah, so I'm gonna go from the couple who had the least to amount of screen time to the most amount of screen time, and the first couple that had a lot or had not had a lot was Belinda and Chad. I also wanted to make a note that there were couples who had um, a expert visit, and three of the couples had an expert visit, and only two didn't. One was Belinda and Chad, and then the other was um, Pat and Rhonda this episode. But what I've noticed is that whenever they do a couple like an expert visit, Belinda and Chad never ever get um they never ever get an expert visit, and I don't understand why, because um is it because they literally have almost zero screen time? Because the only thing that I saw them do this episode was they went to a bar, talked about where they grew up, or at least mostly Belinda did. I didn't catch if Chad said anything about where he grew up, um, because it's that they are just literally like watching paint dry, and I honestly kind of zone out. So I really didn't hear much of anything besides, they went to the bar, talked about where they grew up, and then later on in the episode, they went to a nail salon and got pedicures, and that's literally it. That's all we saw them do. Besides opening the box that the experts sent that had intimacy items in it, and that was it. So, I mean, you don't think that just because they haven't had an explosive or heated argument that they don't need the experts to come in and just do a check-in, because that's what they basically did with Derek and Josh later in the episode, or like in part of the episode, was that they just did a check-in, and they honestly have, you know, they have the least amount of talking or scenes in this episode than you know Belinda and Chad. So compared to, so I'm just like, and they still and the experts still did a check in with them just to see how they were doing, and they like, so why exactly are they exempt from getting a check-in? Like, I honestly believe that Belinda is squashing her feelings a lot next to Jalen. And because, like I said in the last recap, I believe Jalen gets her squashing of feelings from her mom. And I think there's a lot that Chad either says or does, or maybe for the in the fact that there's a lot that he doesn't say and a lot that he doesn't do that irritates her, because I don't believe for a fact that they're this happy couple and everything's perfect and hunky-dory. I don't. um and I may be mixing this particular scene up with uh uh Pat talking, but I could have sworn I saw a preview like earlier in the season or even in the trailer where Chad was talking and it looked like they were eating some sort of like Asian food, like whether it's Chinese, um, Korean barbecue, or just sushi or whatever. And he was saying something along the lines of, I'm getting tired or something, or I don't know. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he basically wasn't happy with what Belinda may be doing. And I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was him because he's the only bald guy on the show. So I think that's what I remember, is that I saw a bald head. And I I don't think that it was Pat, but I could be wrong and it could have been him, but I don't think so. And so I think at some point they're gonna have this blow up because either doing or saying something that she doesn't like, or he's not doing or saying something that she doesn't like. And she's gonna end up saying something about how she's not happy, and he's gonna be like, "Well, why the hell did you wait so long to say something?" And so yeah, it's gonna be a whole big old thing, and maybe they're the ones gonna have this big blow up instead of Josh and Jalen. So, but yeah, like literally, they quite literally had no scenes really. So I mean, that was quite literally it for them. And the next couple that had really not much going on this episode except for like the last few minutes was Megan and Derek. So the first thing that we see of them is that they are doing a cold plunge, and Derek only managed to sit in the cold water for 2.5 minutes, where Megan did 4.5 minutes. So they end up getting a visit from Dr. Pia and Pastor Cal, and we find out that Derek said "I love you" a few days prior, and that's really about it. They seem to be in an okay place at the moment, if not, a lot better than in episodes 7 and 8. Um, so, but we find out at the end of the episode, and like I suspected, that um, Megan is pregnant. And it was because of all the raw smecks they were having. So, um, I don't know. Um, I mean, we still have that scene of Derek's where he's leaving the shared apartment and packing things up. So, maybe that's a scene of, uh, you know, um, right before decision day, and they leave for a few days, and then they come together for decision day. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be that, but it could also be that they had a fight or something, and I don't know. But you know, um, I mean, that's really about it. And it really did sound like it was Megan who said that she was pregnant, despite the producers putting the voiceover, like either right before or during a scene of Will and Brittany's, that that think they were on decision day or something like that. So yeah. Anyways, speaking of Will and Brittany, um, the first scene that we have of them is that they go to the gym together, and it's a gym that I think she frequents, and they're sharing the experience of working out together and all that. So they also have a Dr. P and Pastor Cow visit, um, and right before they do visit, you see Brittany do like a confessional of herself, because I think they give them cameras, like personal cameras, so they can do like personal diary videos or something. And she's sitting in her car and she's saying, the more like that, as the days go on, she likes him more and more, but she feels like there's some sort of block. And so during the visit, Pastor Cal asked, "Is there are there any problems while Will says there aren't any, Brittany says she doesn't know where they stand 100%, meaning that if uh, she feels like he's not all the way committed to her. And so he ends up piping up and saying, well, if the D-Day were tomorrow, he would definitely say yes. But for Brittany, that says to her, when she hears that, if she does or says any little thing that irritates or pisses him off, um, he'll hold it against her and therefore not be committed. Um, and in a roundabout way, we end up on the fact that they don't talk about anything past decision day, or even in like a few days, or like even just decision day. Um, and like they don't talk about anything serious. And this is what I was saying like a few recaps back, is that I didn't get the feeling that none of these couples were actually having a serious conversation about anything. I mean, some of them were kind of with like Megan and Derek, with the whole kids thing, but they weren't really effectively communicating. And I was talking about how I was suspecting in episode eight's recap, how I was feeling like the reason why Megan wasn't necessarily um, wanted to talk about any of these conversations, because perhaps she was feeling like they already needed to be on the subject of that topic, and instead of just bringing it up out of the blue. And for her, that feels like a blindside. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think necessarily think it's the case here, because I think in this instance, I just don't think that he likes her at all, and that's why he's not talking about, after decision day, what does our life look like? Because he's still in the mindset that everything can change in a matter of like a few seconds or a few days, and he's not really he he didn't really do this for the right reasons, because I've said this before, that I think that he only came onto the show because his friends were all getting married, and his friends were leaving him behind, and so he's not really wanting to actually be in a healthy long-term relationship at all. He just wants to be not left behind. And I mean, I just, uh, so anyway, so Brady then asks, where will they live? And so he takes it upon himself to say, well, I'm fine with living at your place, but I'm want to keep my apartment. And to me, that says that whenever he gets annoyed or pissed off with her, what he will end up doing is running to his place to get away from her. And even if he's not pissed off or angry or irritated with her, he's still gonna go to that apartment to get away from her, because he doesn't like her, and that's the problem. And then Dr. P and Patrick Howe kind of try to dig deeper, and finally he says, "Well, the reason why I want to keep it is because, I travel a lot for work, and my apartment is like anywhere from like 3 to 15 minutes away from the airport, um, and it's just more convenient for me to have that there, so that way, whenever I do go travel for business, I can sleep at that apartment, and then like the next morning when I have the trip coming up, I can just go ahead and be there within like half an hour. And that's just me putting on a buffer for um, traffic because, Austin traffic is, there's a lot of construction on I-35, just so you know, because since I live near Austin, there's a lot of construction going down that on I-35. And um, it's just like even coming off of I-35, it's still gonna like when there's still gonna be a lot of people coming off of that interstate. So yeah, that's the only reason why I give the buffer. But anyway, so um, yeah, like if you just said that from the beginning, okay, that'd be one thing. But he didn't even say that. He just said, "Well, I just want to keep my apartment," and that was it. And it's kept at that. And the only reason why I think that is because he doesn't like her. He doesn't want to be with her. The only reason why he's there, and to start off with, is because he was left behind by his friends, and um well, they were all married, and he didn't want to be the odd one out, and that's the only reason why he even um wanted to get married, whether it was married at first sight or just some random, or not, I don't even say random, but some woman that he's known for years. Like that's the only reason why he was doing it, is because he didn't want to be the odd like the third, fifth, seventh, ninth, 11th wheel out of his friends when they all go to dinner and they're all booed up, and he's the only one single. Like he, he wants to be able to have like say, here's my wife, like he. And at this point, I think, and he's just honestly there so he doesn't get fined. Um, so 'cause I mean, he assumed that he was gonna get this baddie. I personally think he was gonna get some baddie that he physically liked, that he thought her personality was gonna be bomb as hell, and he didn't get any in his in I think in his mind he didn't, and so that's why he's just there so he doesn't get fined anymore. But yeah. Um anyway, so the last thing that we have for them is that they go to meet, like she Brittany takes him to meet her family, which I mean, it seems like they left on a good note, but at this point, they like with Megan and Derek, they seem like they're on a yo-yo where and even with Pat and Rhonda, like all three of those couples seem like they're just on a yo-yo. Like they like right at the end of the episode, they were at the point where the yo-yo's in the person's hand and they're all good, but because they're in an upswing or uptick, but you know in like 5 seconds they're gonna be down. The yo is gonna be down all the way down to the ground, and they're gonna be on a low tick, and then a very low low. So it's like, I mean, honestly, I don't want to see them stay together because he's extremely nonchalant. He refuses to talk about his emotions, um, and that's triggering her anxious side to make her want to cling to him. And honestly, at this point, she's starting to, be sort of dismissive in a way where she's not really saying her true feelings, because he's not making a safe space for her. So at this point, I mean, there's just way too many lows and not enough highs for me to justify them staying together. I don't think so. And that's the same with Derek and Megan. And I'm starting to feel the same way about Pat and Rhonda. So I really think that they just need to honestly call it quits. I mean, even at this point, I don't even care if they get a fine. Like, they just need to honestly call it quits because this is not really that healthy to me. Um, Even if it is not doesn't seem as toxic as it had been previously. Um, but that's just my personal opinion. But the next couple I wanted to talk about was Pat and Rhonda. So they go to visit her father's grave. Um, and Rhonda was sharing about the fact that um, I believe her uncle, like her and her sister, or her and somebody were at like her uncle's place when when she was young, and she found like a either a stack of Playboy magazines in the closet, or it was in like some box or something. Um and um and then, Pat was saying, had, you know, spoke up and said, my dad had Playboys in his trunk, like in a trunk, I think like a trunk by the bed or something. Um, and, you know, um, Rhonda was like, there you go again about, making it about yourself. I'm like, okay, at this point, this is getting old, girl. This is honestly getting old. I'm sorry. This is getting old because how else is he supposed to share about himself and and let him share about himself so that you get to know him? Like, how is he supposed to do that if he doesn't share about himself? Like, I mean, um, there are going to be times where people have a similar sort of story and they want to kind of share that and be like, hey, yeah, I can relate to you. um and that's not, I mean, that's not so, it's really an instance of trying to take away from you. It's just trying to build a commonality with you, and there's nothing wrong with that. And uh, and this is going to come up, a little later, but I mean, essentially, he's gonna say, "Well, I feel like I'm judged by you. Um, like I feel like I'm judged by you because um, um, every time you scold me, um, it feels like judgment, and uh, um, he was feeling like he was under evaluation." Um, And I get that because at some point you're gonna want to say, "Oh yeah, I kind of had something similar," and that's not to, like I said, that's not to take away any um sort of anything that you're trying to say. It's just he was trying to make a commonality with you, or bring up a commonality between the two of you, and that can only happen when he's sharing, because it's if and it's just ironic that she was complaining about how um he was always sharing on the honeymoon, um and she never got a word in edgewise, but here she is always talking and him not getting a word in edgewise. And well, I mean, she explained at the end of the episode that, or towards the end of the episode, in the last scene of theirs, that the reason why she um or that she has this big insecurity about not being chosen, and it stems from her dad, um and all that, because she explains, well, he wanted a son, and what ended up happening is he got $2 instead. And so basically, um her sister was more of the son that he never got, because what she would do is he would, like, whenever he needed rent, she would give it to him. um and basically her father would, whenever um they would, sort of, I guess, splurge on the kids, and let them do what they wanted, he would always splurge on her sister, and basically, give her tennis lessons when they couldn't afford it, or take her hunting, and all that stuff. And he would never do any of that stuff with her. So she felt not chosen. And so when he doesn't fully listen, she equates that to not being chosen. And that kind of goes back to in the car, when they're on the way back, or wait, was it on the way back? I believe it was on the way back, when she had said, my father died when I was 19, so it's been like 44 years since I've been without my father. And so he had said, because he missed it, and was like, "I'm sorry, can you say that again, and let me know how long it's been since you've lost your father?" And that just happens. That happens. I don't believe that he's just not listening to her whatsoever. I truly don't think so. I think she's making mountains out of molehills, or mountains out of literally nothing. And she it and it's just, at this point, you're equating him to your father too much, and that's not what he's doing. I don't think that he's actively doing this on purpose, or doing this as much as she's making it seem. Um, and I think she just has so many unresolved feelings and talking points about her dad that she needs to go to a therapist for, because he's not your therapist. Yes, he should be able to listen once in a while, when, like, if you can't make it to your therapist for the time being, but making him your sounding board and therefore your therapist is never good. I'm sorry, that you need a separate person for that. I'm sorry, but you need a separate therapist for that. You need a separate person for that. And I, I, I mean, I'm sure there's some therapists who do well. My therapist, his practice, they do a sliding scale. So I'm sure you can find like a therapist office that does a sliding scale for you. So that way, and they're like, I was doing therapy for once every 2 weeks, and then I went to once a month. So they can do like once a month if that's needed. So that way you're not paying like every single week, or every 2 weeks, um, where you're shelling out money, because therapy can be expensive. I'm not gonna lie, it can be expensive. So that way, like, if you can't afford it like every single week, or every 2 weeks, you can at least try to do it like every month, and then that way you can um try to work through your feelings of not having been listened to by your father, because at this point, you're putting too much onto Pat, and I think that's unfair to him, because at this point he's starting to feel like he's tiptoeing around you, because he's always being judged by you for not being exactly what you want him, like, or doing exactly what you want him to do, and that's not fair to him. Like, I feel like he's doing a lot of accommodating at this point, and she's not allowing him to. She's not allowing for him to just be, and not doing any accommodating for him. So, I mean, yeah. At this point, I think that I don't want to say insufferable because that's just bad all the way around. I just think that she I don't know why she just wants to be in this sad place all the time. And at this point, because all we hear is her reminiscing about her father's death, or reminiscing about her toxic her past toxic relationships. And at this point, like, can he just talk about something that's not depressing? I mean, and that's why I'm suggesting like a therapist before, because like she obviously has a lot of stuff that she needs to talk through, because she hasn't actually processed everything yet. And um because at some point everyone's not going to want to always listen to a, a depressing sad story all the time. They want to have fun, or just relax and decompress, and it just I mean, so like I said, she just needs a good therapist to help her, because I don't think she even really fully processed everything. That's unfortunately the problem with a lot of the older generation, is that they don't necessarily want to go to a therapist and actually truly work through their issues that they may have, if they have any. And that's the problem, unfortunately. um so yeah. All right, so the last couple that had the most going on was Jalen and Josh. So they're the first to get a visit from Pastor Cal and Dr. Pia. Um, so they talk about the fact that he essentially lied about having unfollowed his ex on social media. Um, and um, basically they're asking her if she can forgive him, but she gives this half-hearted yes to the experts, which they call BS on, um, which I'm glad that they did, because I mean it was literally written all over her face. Um, and so she then explains, well, she thinks that little lies will end up leading to bigger ones, and he could get to the point where he's literally just saying yes to just literally saying yes to um uh everything that she says, um or everything that she requests of him, and he's just doing it to appease her. So they're like, well, do you want to go to any festivals? And they're like, be 100% honest, 1,000% honest. And she's like, no, I don't want to go to them all the time. I mean, she's like, well, once in a while, sure, but I don't want to. Like, I basically, she doesn't want to go to the point where it's like a weekly or monthly thing, and certainly not out in the fucking desert or forest or whatever. Um, and so she, is wondering if she needs to be with someone else who shares his passion for doing stuff like the Burning Man, and he says that he doesn't want anyone else but her. Um, and he basically says in a roundabout way that he wants her to go. Um, he he wants her to go and all that, and I don't know. This was part I did felt a little gaslighty to me, because it felt just it just I don't know. It just felt like they were trying to get her to, like, basically go, um, I don't know. I don't exactly remember everything that they said, like what had said been said, but I mean, it felt very much like they were trying to get her to at least um do more than what she was comfortable with doing. Um So when the experts leave to get into another argument about Burning Man, and she mentions that on the honeymoon he had said it wouldn't be that big of a deal for him if she didn't go, but now all of a sudden it is, and she, I think the problem is for Josh is that because Jalen doesn't want to go, he feels obligated to not go to Burning Man or to any other stuff that he wants to do. Um, and therefore feels like he's giving up on his passion. But that's the problem. He's not actually listening to what is being said, um, because for him, he's listening to it with ears of being like abandoned by his mom, essentially because she had gone to prison for such a long time, from I think like the ages of 3 or 4 to about the age of 16, and um he wants to feel part of a community, which I could understand, and that's his right to want to do. The thing is that not every couple has to do everything together, and that's the thing, is like he wants to do everything that he loves to do with her all the time, and that's not fair to her, because now they're not doing anything that, I mean, because we've seen basically them doing, like, for most of the activities that they do together, it's stuff that he wants to do, and nothing, and only one thing that she wants to do, which was the spin cycling class that she um coached, or was a teacher on, or whatever you want to call it. Um and that was one out of like 5 or 6 things that they did, literally one out of 5 or 6. That's like 90% of the stuff that they've done was stuff that he wanted to do, and that's not fair to her, because at some point she's going to feel like she is um being forced to do everything that he likes, um as opposed to both doing stuff that they both like. And it's just gonna end up building resentment, and then they're going to be married 10, 15, 20 years, and next thing you know, she's like her mom, where she's getting divorced after the kids are gone, because she squashed her feelings in the beginning. They got eventually end up getting pregnant, and then she stayed for the kids, and now she's looking up and she's like, she doesn't recognize herself anymore, because you know they're just doing everything that he just likes to do. So I mean, um and at some point he even compares her being forced to give up spin cycling, as by saying, well, what if you were for, like, what if your one of your legs was hurt and it had to be amputated, and you couldn't do spin cycling anymore? Like, that's not the same thing. That's one, that one is being forced, and in this case, you're not being forced to do it. She's not saying you don't have to not go. You don't have to go. She's just saying, why do I need to go with you for something that I know I don't like? Because she's already done something similar, and she knows she's not gonna like Burning Man. Like, and I'm with her on that. I'm honestly with her on that. Like, I don't like being again, it's gonna be ironic because I'm in a hot ass state, but if I mean why should I be uncomfortable and do something that I just am not late? I'm just I hate being hot. I literally hate being hot, and so and she's the same way. She doesn't like feeling hot and sweaty and all that stuff. Like that's just not her jam. And I mean, I understand. So like, so she should feel uncomfortable for 7 days because you want her to go. What? Like, now she's gonna, like I said, she's gonna feel resentful because now she's stuck in the hot ass desert because she felt pressure to do it, and she should want to go because she wants to go, not because she felt backed into a corner, and that's the problem. It's like I knew it was gonna get to this point. I mean, I thought it was gonna be a lot bigger blow up, but um, I just I knew it was gonna get to this point where she felt resentful because she was always doing stuff that he wanted to do and never she was they were barely doing anything that she wanted to do. And to be quite honest, I get very transactional vibes from Josh because this whole conversation sounded like, well, I did your spin second class for you, so I want you to go to Burning Man. Like what? I don't yeah, I think that what's going to end up happening is that they're going to end up crashing and burning very, 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 very soon. Because I mean, I knew that her being agreeable to everything that he said was going to backfire, and here we are, you know, like 40 days into this, and about 40 days into this whole process, and she's feeling very resentful of him. So I don't think that they're gonna say yes, to be quite honest. I'd be surprised if they actually do say yes on decision day. Um, but yeah, I mean, I mean, we'll see. I mean, to kind of like give us a prediction of who I think will say yes and no, I think Belinda and Chad are going to be the only ones to say yes. Um, they're going to only be the only ones to say yes. Um, and to be quite honest, I would be surprised if they're still together by the reunion. But I think they will say yes on decision day and be split up by the reunion. And then Megan and Derek with the baby, I mean, unless something happens to the baby, which I don't want to happen, but if something happens to the baby, I honestly don't expect them to be together that long, outside of the baby. Uh, as far as Rhonda and Pat, they need to call it quits too. Like pretty much everyone, um, to be quite honest, needs to call it quits, and I think Pat and Rhonda are gonna say I want them to say no, but I can potentially see them saying yes just to sort of save face and not have another, especially for Rhonda, not to have another failed marriage under her belt, and just saying yes on decision day just to say yes. But I also don't see them staying together past the reunion or like past that much longer. They're going to be at the very least separated by the reunion, if not completely divorced. Um, but um, Jalen and Josh, they're going to be a no for sure. Um, and I mean, I could potentially see Jalen just saying yes because she's doing a lot of agreeing, and I think following in her mom's footsteps a little bit too much. And so I see her saying at the very least yes, but I can see him saying no for sure, which would just be ultimately a no on decision day. And then Brittany and Will. I see her saying yes, but I definitely don't see him saying yes. I think I see him saying no. And I'd be shocked if Will even says yes on decision day. I know this is, um, rather premature, maybe a bit, but we only have like, let me see, trying to think how many episodes do we have left? Because I know next week they have 2 episodes that are, um, dropping. Uh, yeah, 2 episodes are dropping next week, 11 and 12, and then the week after that, is gonna be episodes 13 and 14. So, episode 13, I believe, is gonna be decision day. So, yeah, I mean, um well, maybe episodes 12 and 13 gonna be maybe decision day, but I mean, you would think that if they had it on 2 different episodes, they would, like, they might start the process of decision day at the end of episode 12, but they might not actually get to, an actual decision for the first couple, so that could be it. Because a lot of this, because Married at First Sight has the same production company as Love Is Blind, so, and what Love Is Blind does is, on a, because the episode before the reunion, that's, I think, just dedicated to the weddings, and like the full episode's dedicated to the weddings, and then, um, the episode before that, they start showing like one couple starting the process of going, getting dressed and all that stuff to go down the aisle. And so I'm thinking they might do the same thing here since it's the same production company, but I mean, we'll see. But yeah, that, I mean, those are kind of like my early predictions. But I mean, let me know what, if you have any early predictions yourself. And also what you thought of, um episode 9. Whether you agree with something I said or disagree, or whatever. But like, share, and subscribe. Bye.